like your style and like what you learn best with, like that's how you're gonna create your study habit.
The way I studied for pre-health classes, especially like bio classes, I made sure that I had read the material beforehand, and that's something I learned not until my junior year, but to read beforehand and then take my own notes, then go to class, and then just kind of like add to those notes. That's how I studied, and I'm a person that has to constantly be looking at my notes, or not, it just goes.
A lot of professors will give you a slide that they're going to lecture on before class, and I found that printing that out and bringing it to class and then just taking notes right on that saves me a lot of time. I don't have to, draw all those diagrams and necessarily take everything notes, but I can add to whatever's already on there to kind of like highlight the most important points, especially for Orgo right now. That's worked extremely well.
As soon as you get out of class, or as soon as you're done with classes for the day, going back and looking through notes from the classes in that day has been really helpful. And also, like in the margins, writing down what questions you have as you have them so that you don't forget about them, and you can go to office hours for the professor, or even just ask your friends the next day. That's been really helpful, just not being afraid to ask questions and be comfortable with what you don't know.
Making sure that I am reviewing material right after class, going to office hours to ask questions, and just like kind of staying on top of the work, because there is a lot of volume, but it's pretty manageable if you're making sure to integrate it every single day.
Read the notes ahead of time, read the text ahead of time, go into class, take great notes, but not everything, because that's just overload. And then I would immediately after class read over them, copy them down, whatever it is you need to do to remember them, then go back to it, from time to time.
One of the greatest pieces of advice I ever got about working in science courses at Dartmouth is that you have to approach it like you're learning a new language, that you have to put in that kind of time and repetition as if you were trying to memorize complete new vocabulary and way to speak. That means creating flashcards, making outlines, and going over notes multiple times right after class, so it's still fresh and you can start to digest it and put it into your own words.
I don't know if this is necessarily a study tip, but something that I've done is I've actually led a lot of pre-health class study groups, which I would say has been really positive for me, because I've been able to meet underclassmen who are taking these classes who are pre-health, and I've been able to become a mentor for them in this setting of a study group, but even outside of a study group. And it's been great for me because I've been able to review a lot of the material that I learned in those classes. A class that I took freshman spring has material on it that I am probably going to have to know when I take the MCAT, and so having the opportunity to go over that material and teach it to other people, which is a really great way for me to learn it myself even better, has been a really positive way for me to kind of give back to pre-health students, but also really reinforce the material that I've learned.
I think finding a group of people in your class who you enjoy spending time with and who you can study with a lot is really important. Even if you don't necessarily want to study with them, just kind of like staying on top of like stuff with them, talking about like, oh, like have you done this for lab, or like, I think that adds a lot to it, and it makes the class feel less burdensome.
What I've found is starting with flashcards is a good place to begin, but afterwards then, like say in bio, I'll like draw out all of the different processes. Or one thing that one of the tutors said that has really helped me is imagine if you break like a certain protein, what happens then? And you have to imagine what would happen. I don't know, it's just a different way of trying to answer your own questions.
I like using multicolored pens because they help me at least like highlight, okay, red is for vocab, green is for like an important concept, blue is for an important pathway. So I like using colors because I like a visual person.
So the way I studied for physics classes and chem classes was a little bit different from bio. And I was a neuro major, so it was a little bit different from neuro major classes too, but practice problems, like for physics and for chem, it's practice problems.
So far, all my pre-health classes have been problem solving based. So I say just do as many problems as you can before an exam, and eventually it should click.
Go for office hours, make use of your tutors, and I just found it really helpful to study with other people in my class because it gives me a different perspective of how people understand different things. So that's been very helpful.
For, say, like chemistry, bio, and physics, I never really used the textbooks. I mostly went to office hours because some of the professors here, or at least most of them, tend to emphasize using lectures in their, or using most of the stuff on lecture in their test. So the textbook can be sort of used as like reinforcement if you don't understand what's going on in class.
Avoid the 10 to 12 cups of coffee a day. Bad idea. Sleep is so much better in terms of making you a better student and a happier person during the day.